If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And have a great day.
President George Herbert Walker Bush signed the ADA, a landmark law to end discrimination against disabled individuals. It ensured equal access to jobs, public services, transport, and buildings, fostering inclusivity and advancing civil rights for disabled people across the U.S. Anita Faye Hill accused Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas of sexual harassment. Her testimony during his hearing sparked a national debate on workplace harassment, raising awareness of women's rights and pushing for reforms to address gender discrimination in the U.S. The 1992 U.S. election, called the Year of the Woman, saw a record number of women elected to Congress, including Carol Moseley Braun, the first African-American female senator. This milestone advanced gender equality in politics, inspiring more women in leadership roles. Signed by President William Jefferson Clinton, the FMLA granted unpaid leave for family or medical reasons without job loss. This law aided women in balancing family and work, promoting gender equity in workplaces across the U.S. and supporting better work-life integration. Senator Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. co-authored the VAWA, providing legal protections and funding to fight domestic violence. This law enhanced women's safety in homes and communities, addressing gender-based violence and supporting victims across the United States. Bernadine Patricia Healy, NIH's first female director, created the Office of Women's Health for Gender-Specific Medical Research. This initiative addressed women's unique health needs, improving healthcare outcomes and advancing medical equity for women in the U.S. U.S. women's basketball team and other athletes won 19 medals at the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. This record-breaking achievement highlighted women's growing prominence in sports, inspiring future generations and advancing gender equality in athletics across the United States. Madeleine Corbell Albright became the first female U.S. Secretary of State, breaking barriers in politics. Her leadership shaped global foreign policy and promoted women's rights, marking a key step toward gender equality in U.S. government and inspiring women leaders. The Supreme Court's ruling in Burlington v. Kimberly Ellerth set a precedent for corporate accountability in sexual harassment cases. It held employers liable for employees' actions, strengthening workplace protections for women and combating gender-based harassment in the U.S. The U.S. women's soccer team won the 1999 FIFA Women's World Cup, with Brandi Chastain's iconic penalty kick. This victory elevated women's sports, promoted gender equality in athletics, and inspired global recognition of female athletes' contributions to soccer in the U.S. Signed by President William Jefferson Clinton, the TVPA fought human trafficking, focusing on protecting women and children. It introduced legal measures to punish traffickers and support victims, strengthening efforts to end exploitation in the United States and globally. Under Carrie M. Dominguez's leadership, the EEOC enhanced Equal Pay Act enforcement. By scrutinizing wage disparities, it worked to close the gender pay gap, advocating for fair compensation and workplace equity for women across the United States. The Supreme Court's Nevada v. William Hibbs ruling mandated states' compliance with the FMLA. This ensured women could take leave to care for family without penalties, reinforcing workplace protections and supporting gender equity in the U.S. The Rosa Parks Memorial Foundation was created to honor Rosa Parks' civil rights legacy. It advocates for social justice and civil rights, particularly for women and people of color, continuing her impact on equality in the United States. In 2005, the U.S. women's rights movement gained traction, advocating for equal pay, reproductive rights, and workplace equality. Grassroots organizations pushed for policy changes to ensure women's full participation in society, advancing gender equity. Sonia Maria Sotomayor, nominated by President Barack Hussein Obama, became the first Latina Supreme Court justice. Her appointment marked a historic step for gender and racial diversity in the U.S. judiciary, inspiring women and minorities in law. Michelle LaVaughn Robinson Obama became the first African-American First Lady in 2008. Her focus on education, veterans care, and healthy living made her a powerful advocate for women's rights and social justice in the U.S. The Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, signed in 2009, allowed workers to file pay discrimination claims without time limits. It strengthened the fight for equal pay for women, addressing gender-based wage disparities in workplaces across the United States. The Affordable Care Act, signed in 2010, included provisions for women's health, mandating coverage for maternity care, contraceptives, and preventive services. It ensured women's access to essential healthcare. Advancing gender equity in health in the U.S. Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton became U.S. Secretary of State in 2011 under President Barack Hussein Obama. Her leadership in foreign policy and advocacy for women's rights globally showcased her impact on international relations and gender equality. Sheryl Kara Sandberg's Lean In movement, launched in 2012, urged women to embrace leadership and address workplace challenges. It sparked vital conversations about women's equality and empowerment, inspiring career advancement in the U.S. In 2013, thousands marched in Washington, D.C., demanding stronger reproductive rights. The march sought to preserve access to safe abortions, birth control, and maternal health care, emphasizing women's autonomy over their bodies in the U.S. Emma Charlotte Duer Watson launched the He for She campaign at the UN in 2014, urging men to support gender equality. It highlighted the role of male allies in promoting equal rights for women across all sectors, advancing global gender equity. In 2015, the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage nationwide. This landmark decision recognized equal rights for all couples, advancing LGBTQ rights and women's equality, and marking a significant step toward inclusivity in the U.S. The 2017 Women's March drew millions across the U.S., protesting policies threatening women's rights, healthcare, and social justice. It became a symbol of resistance, demanding gender equality and inclusivity nationwide. The Me Too movement, started in 2006, gained global traction in 2017 after high-profile sexual harassment cases. Women worldwide rallied to end sexual violence, empowering women across sectors and advancing gender equity in the U.S. Christine Margaret Blasey Ford's 2018 testimony against Brett Kavanaugh during his Supreme Court hearings was pivotal for #MeToo. Her courage in accusing him of assault highlighted women's challenges in seeking justice in the U.S. The U.S. women's soccer team won a 2019 lawsuit for equal pay against U.S. soccer. This victory highlighted the gender pay gap in sports, prompting efforts to ensure fair compensation for female athletes across the United States. Kamala Devi Harris became the first female U.S. vice president in 2020. Her election broke barriers for women, especially women of color, in high-level politics, marking a historic step toward gender and racial equity in the U.S.